Thomas Lanier Williams III, born on his birthday on March 26, 1911.
Dad, isn't that a little repetitive?
Shut up, Jimmy. I'm literally sitting here wasting 5 minutes of my precious time teaching you about an amazing playwright that you probably don't even care about for your English project. So if you could just sit down and listen, then maybe we can get through this faster, okay?
Dad,
What?
what's a playwright?
What are you, stupid? A person who writes plays. Now please, let me continue.
Okay.
Now, Williams was born in Columbus, Mississippi, and was the second child of Edwina Williams and Cornelius Williams. His father was a traveling shoe salesman, a heavy drinker, and was rarely home, which caused his father and mother to be resentful of one another, and Williams took note of this. In a lot of his writing, Williams drew inspiration from his dysfunctional family. For example, his mother's overly dramatical behavior became the model for the character Amanda Wingfield in The Glass Menagerie. What does menagerie mean? It's a strange or diverse collection of people or things. It's okay, I had to look that one up too. Early on in his life, Williams nearly died from diphtheria, a serious infection of the nose and throat, confining Williams to his house for over a year. As a result, his father, being the meanie that he is, like you. No, I'm not. His father was disappointed in how his son turned out as a result, or at least in part, due to his sickness. Years later, his father, upon obtaining a new job at a shoe factory, decided to move his family into a crowded, low-rent apartment in St. Louis, Missouri. It is around this time then that Thomas Williams adopted the name Tennessee Williams instead, since his father hailed from Tennessee. The sudden switch to an urban home also caused Williams to turn inwards and begin writing. This love of writing would later result in him skipping school regularly, doing poorly in his studies, and often preferring to escape into the world of reading and writing instead of working. Now, initially, Williams was enrolled in the University of Missouri. One of his classes was ROTC, which was a requirement he needed to attend the university.
What is ROTC?
I swear to... Actually, that's an actual question. Wow. ROTC is the Reserve Officers Training Corps. An example of ROTC would be a program that trains college students to become officers in the U.S. Armed Forces. Now, Williams didn't enjoy the class. He basically flunked it, and his father, angered by his poor performance, pulled him out of school and suggested he work under him at a shoe company instead. Now obviously, Williams hated this. Jimmy, I'd bet you'd also hate it if I forced you to work under me just for doing bad in school, right?
Not really, as long as I have Minecraft.
Okay, never mind. Well, Williams hated this job, and especially the 9 to 5 routine he'd have to follow, which caused Williams to write non-stop with the time that he had, which was the night hours. During the day, he'd toil through making shoe after shoe, hour after hour, and at night he'd grab some coffee, some cigs, and he'd tippity-type away at his typewriter into the night. During this time at the factory, Williams would write and finish 2 plays, Candles to the Sun and The Fugitive Kind, but he never got much attention. Despite this, he continued to stay up night after night, and this became so bad that eventually at age 24, he had a nervous breakdown and left his job, retreating to his grandparents' house in Memphis to recover. But even that didn't stop Williams from continuing his writing. 2 years later, in autumn of 1937, he attended the University of Iowa, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in English on August 1936.
Dad, you can't go back in time.
Sorry, I meant August 1938. Thank you, Jimmy.
No problem.
So now it's the late 1930s, and Williams had a couple of things going for him. He had a Bachelor of Arts in English, he had a couple of finished plays, and he had trouble gaining an audience for his work. So of course, he had to resort to drastic measures. Williams decided to work on a chicken ranch, as well as a couple other manal jobs, but that was the only interesting one.
Dad, you're kind of weird.
Yeah, I know. In 1939, Williams produced one of his first major plays, Battle of Angels. It was a groundbreaking play, so naturally, it was horribly received.
That doesn't make sense.
Listen here, Jimmy. Battle of Angels strayed from tradition. It was excessively open in nature and juxtaposed religion and sexuality, and the people back then were just not ready for such radicality. But despite this flop, the Rockefeller Foundation awarded Williams with a $1,000 grant in recognition of his play, and Williams took some of this cash money to move to New Orleans. It was here that Williams would begin his lifelong love of the city, which later influenced perhaps his most famous work, A Streetcar Named Desire. He would also begin working for the Works Progress Administration, a program funded by none other than the president at the time. Franklin D. Roosevelt in order to put people to work. Now remember that $1,000 grant that the Rockefeller Foundation gave Williams?
You mean the one you talked about 10 seconds ago?
Yeah, that one. That very grant brought him to the attention of the Hollywood film industry, and Williams, as a result, was granted a 6-month contract as a writer from the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer studios, scoring him $250 weekly. And from here, Williams' passion for literature and writing finally paid off. It all started with his 1944 The Glass of Menagerie at age 33, instant hit in New York, best play of the season, and won New York Drama Critics Circle Award. But his next play, though, was a masterpiece. It was his magnum opus, his piece de resistance. It was none other than A Streetcar Named Desire, which, in 1947, secured his position as one of the greatest playwrights of his time. Within the next couple of years, he and his partner Frank Merlot would travel across Europe, gaining new inspirations for his writing. Between 1948 and 1959, Williams had 7 of his plays produced on Broadway. We're talking Summer in Smoke, ooh, The Rose Tattoo, ooh, Camino Real, ooh, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, ooh, Orpheus Descending, ah, Garden District, ooh, Sweet Bird of Youth, ooh. And by 1959, he had earned 2 Pulitzer Prizes, 3 New York Drama Critics, 3 New York Drama Critics Circle Awards, 3 Donaldson Awards, and a Tony Award. But after finally reaching a wide audience, the quality of Williams' work suffered from his increasing alcohol and drug consumption. In 1963, when his partner Frank Merlot died of lung cancer, he became depressed, and his career spiraled downward. He went on a string of poorly received plays, and his final play, A House Not Meant to Stand, despite largely positive reviews, ran for only 40 performances. In 1983, Williams was found dead at 71. He was then buried at Calvary Cemetery in St. Louis. Through all his hard work, and despite his downfall, Williams still left his mark as one of the greatest playwrights of all time. And 4 years before his death, he was inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame.
Wow, Dad, that was really interesting. I'm sorry for being so annoying all the time. And thank you very much, for taking some time off your day to help me with my project. I didn't know you were so knowledgeable.
Hello? You calling me dumb?
No, not at all. Dad!
No, Dad! How did you live? What? That's unbelievable! No!